So a viewer left a suggestion that I look through Reddit's r/hamsters subreddit. I am a little bit familiar with Reddit. I am a member on there because I like to ask questions about things that are just random in my life and I know nothing about. Though one time I did ask what would be a good lens for doing YouTube sit-down videos, and I ended up getting mansplained into how to create a successful YouTube channel. So that was fun. So let's just take a look and see what is on this subreddit. What kind of hamster is this guy? A local family lost interest in their hamsters and we adopted them. They're mostly dark except for their feet, what you see here, and the tips of their ears. I should also note that they have small white spots on their rumps. I love that word, rumps. So the hamster here is a dwarf hamster, and I would say that they are a hybrid dwarf hamster because it is very, 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 very unlikely that the previous owners got these hamsters from an ethical breeder, so they likely are hybrid dwarfs. So on to the next post. Got some info from the breeder but want to clarify. So I'm told not to give her any fresh food for 2 weeks to avoid wet tail. I'm thinking this is reasonable but also think it's a bit long. She's 33 days old as of 2/19. She's friendly but isn't completely socialized yet. So it sounds to me that this breeder is actually a backyard breeder. You can easily tell because there are a couple of red flags. The first one being wet tail is not caused by eating fresh foods. Wet tail is a bacterial disease, and any knowledgeable ethical breeder is going to know that. In fact, ethical breeders already are feeding fresh foods the day the baby hamsters are able to eat solid foods. So they're already used to eating fresh foods. So there is no reason for somebody to have to avoid fresh foods for 2 weeks. The second red flag is she's only 4 weeks old. That is way too young for an ethical breeder to rehome a hamster. Most ethical breeders won't give out babies until 6 weeks of age, and a lot wait until 8 weeks of age. None would rehome as young as 4 weeks. At 4 weeks old, a baby hamster is still growing so much, and a breeder is going to be making sure that they are giving them all the nutrients they need to be able to grow big and strong, as well as they are learning so much from their siblings at this age. They are learning how to properly use their mouths. Baby hamsters are going to play fight with each other, and they may bite too hard, and another baby hamster is going to squeak at them, and they're going to say, hey, that was too rough, and the other hamster is going to learn. And this can be very helpful for when you are handling your hamster, because they're going to know how to properly interact and not necessarily want to just bite hard all of the time, if that makes any sense. They're also just learning a lot from their siblings by copying one another. If one baby hamster is burrowing, another baby hamster is going to be like, why don't I do that? So they're learning so much. I buy the substrate on Amazon, but this is the first time I got it packaged like on the right. Is it a knockoff? It was Amazon Choice. Anyone else use it? So I've never seen it packaged like the one on the right. The first thing I would probably do is just email KT, and they would probably ask you to check the batch number or see if there's a batch number, which then they can identify if it is their bedding and not a knockoff. I would hope that it's not a knockoff, but it is a little bit sketchy the way it is packaged. Any name suggestions for this cutie? She is around 6 to 7 weeks old. Bought her yesterday, preferably something short and food-based since I already got one named Curry. So she is super duper adorable, and the first name that comes to mind is Tapioca Pudding. I feel like that name would suit her so well just based on her coloring, and it works with the food name theme. My hamster ate KFC popcorn chicken. Will my hamster be okay? She ate just one piece, won't stop running around in circles, quite scared at this point. I can't tell if this person is maybe trolling. The only reason their hamster would be like running around in a circle would either be neurological issues or possible ear infection, but a food definitely would not cause that. And while KFC popcorn chicken is really not the greatest thing in the world, there's lots of fats, seasonings, salts, it's very processed, it's not toxic to a hamster. They're not gonna die from it. They're not supposed to eat it. It's not a good thing to be feeding them, just like it's not great to feed a dog KFC popcorn chicken, if that makes any sense. It's not unsafe, but you shouldn't feed it. Please help. My pet sitter stole my hamster. My pet sitter stole my hamster during my vacation to another state and refuses to give her back because her temporary enclosure is too small. I understand her concern about space, but with that being said, the Hammy has a permanent DIY bin enclosure that is well for her. She has expressed how obsessed her wife is with my hamsters and now blindsides me with refusal to return her. What legal actions or any actions can I take? That is insane. And I'm feeling like there might be some like communication issues possibly. I'm wondering if the pet sitter thinks that the enclosure they were in is the permanent enclosure and that's why they're concerned and tried to take the hamster. But if this person says that they have a DIY bin cage, I mean, I don't know how big the bin cage is, but it sounds like the enclosure that they were in was just a temporary enclosure. And unfortunately, no matter what the situation is, if an animal does not look like they're being well taken care of, you still do not have legal action to just go in and take them from somebody. That's why dog rescues can't just go onto somebody's property if they see a dog chained to the porch. You can't just take that dog. You have to go through like permits or warrants to be able to take that animal. So I definitely would be taking legal action because that person has no right to take your pet. If somebody did not give my pet back when I asked them to pet sit, I 100% would be calling 911. Cashew is plotting. Okay, I saw this and I had to share it because this is a Chinese hamster, but they just look so different without the testicles. I'm just so used to seeing them and it's like half their body. But a female Chinese hamster doesn't have them clearly. And I'm like, they look so different. Puppy Roll's leg was badly broken at the vet. He is currently splinted up and very grumpy about not being able to run. Any advice from anyone who has had a baby break their leg? He's over 2 and so we're particularly worried. So I actually have also had a hamster who broke their leg. Her name was Aspen. It's really great that your vet was able to put a cast or splint on the leg, because when I took my hamster to the vet, the person that looked her over was a dog cat vet with small animal experience, and he was like, no, you cannot put a cast or anything on the leg. It's not possible. And I knew it was possible. But anyways, what I did for Aspen is that I had a smaller hospital bin cage for her so that I was able to still access her because she needed meds. I think it was twice a day. And she didn't have a wheel in there. I tried to limit the types of accessories that I put in there because you really want to focus on them healing that leg. And it's really hard because hamsters are so active. They just want to like run around. And it was super sad to see Aspen just look so bored. So one of the main things I had to do was try and provide a lot of different food boredom breakers and things to do with food so that it would kind of keep her busy. Can you use a small pet store cage as part of your setup? My daughter wants a hamster. She had her heart set on one of those stupidly small critter trail cages with a bunch of tubes. After watching several Victoria.raechel videos, I've convinced her to let me build a larger enclosure, but she still wants to get a tube cage to set on top with the tubes running down into the main living area. Is that in any way a good idea, or would it just be a waste of $60 that could be used for more toys and other enrichment? Personally, I would find it quite a waste of money because you can use $60 towards so many other enrichments for the hamster. And critter trail cages just aren't the safest enclosures. They are barred enclosures. They have really just no bedding depth. The hamster can chew on the bars. They can also climb the bars, which they can easily injure a leg. And a lot of the times the tubes that companies make are just, they're not wide enough. And often what happens is a hamster can get stuck depending on the species, or a hamster can have their cheeks full and they try to fit through the tube and they're squeezing themselves through it, and it can actually cause damage to the cheek pouches because seeds can be pointy, and if that accidentally punctures the inside of the cheek, you could possibly be dealing with an infected cheek pouch. Not a fun thing. The best thing I would say to do is, instead of using like a tube cage, maybe you can get those connectable cardboard night angel tubes, and then you can connect those and put them in the enclosure. It's not going to be on the outside, but it still is on the inside and you can watch them go through it. I would try to explain to her the reasoning as to why the critter trail just isn't going to work out and why it's not best for the hamster. Once she actually has the hamster in the proper enclosure and you have all this enrichment, I'm sure watching the hamster just interact with all of those things is going to be more interesting than seeing them go through some plastic tubes. Teaching my hamster Fruit Ninja. Oh boy, this is weird to ask. One of my friends has 2 hairless cats that they've accidentally taught to play Fruit Ninja. I recently discovered that my robo hamster, Hamlet, can use my phone and iPad. This has got me wondering if I could teach him how to play Fruit Ninja or some other similar game. I'll probably look for some slightly more sound-based games because I don't think he'd be able to keep up with something that requires that much vision. So I don't know how well it's gonna actually work. If you've ever had your hamster run across a touch screen, you'll know that they got those 4 paws and they're gonna touch everything. It's gonna click everything. It's gonna delete apps. They're gonna be in a different language and you're like, thank you, Hammy. So I don't know if teaching them Fruit Ninja is going to be exactly possible. It's more possible for cats because cats are predator animals, and when they see something moving, they tend to want to tap it with their paw, a singular paw, not all 4 paws. So that's why it tends to work. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to try. DIY hide, no making required, wooden box file from IKEA, painted with HamiSafe paint to make it able to be cleaned. So actually in IKEA Canada, they unfortunately don't sell this file folder anymore, which sucks so much because I used to have them and they were great for like platforms or hideouts. They were awesome. The one thing I did learn about them is that you have to cover that little side hole, because a dwarf hamster is definitely going to try to fit through there, and a Syrian hamster may also try to fit their head in there, and you do not want a stuck hamster. That can be a really scary thing. So a really simple solution to that is just, you can buy those circular wooden circles from like the craft store, and all you have to do is just glue one on there, and there you go. 100% safe. So there we go. That was my unsolicited advice to some people on Reddit who may not even ever see this video, but hopefully maybe you have the same questions and I was able to help you out. But I will see you in my next video. Bye!